Today's special, I can't believe the Celtics traded down edition of the BS podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That is our presenting sponsor. That is the easiest way to shop for the best tickets. Thanks to their revolutionary grading system, buy and sell tickets in 2 taps on your phone. Everything fully guaranteed. It is baseball season, especially after the NBA draft and free agency. All we're going to have to care about is baseball for 6 weeks. Right now, my listeners get $10 off baseball tickets the first time they use SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app, which you can download, and just use my promo code BSMLB. We are also brought to you by TheRinger.com. It is Good Bad Movie Weeks. Good Bad Movie Week. Good Bad Movies Week. I know I can speak on The Ringers.com. If you want to read about all the good bad movies out there, jump in. We did a top 50 today. We talked to the guy who did the Razzies. We have a whole bunch of stuff coming up. Good Bad Movies Week. Also, the Ringers NBA Draft Guide, which is the best draft guide on the internet. That's not even hyperbole. It just is. If you want to follow up on all these draft prospects that you're hearing about and reading about, go check that guide out and check out all of our NBA draft content this week. Speaking of the NBA draft, I will be going on Against All Odds with Cousin Sal. This week, we're going to be talking about NBA draft props. And we are taping that tomorrow, Tuesday, at 4:30 p.m. And so it'll be up when? Late night Tuesday night? Yep. And then we got 2 more BS podcasts coming this week as well, including Malcolm Gladwell's coming on this week. And then we'll have a big Friday after the draft extravaganza podcast. But coming up right now, we have the Ringers Kevin O'Connor with the Ringers Chris Ryan. We're going to break down the Markelle Fultz /Celtics/Sixers trade. And then around like the 40-minute mark, the Ringers Mark Titus is going to come on to give his take on all of these different prospects that you're hearing about and the Fultz trade. And then finally, at around the 1 hour mark, my dad, longtime diehard Celtics fan, very upset about the Celtics trade. Is very upset they traded down. He hates trading down. He's morally opposed to it. And he's going to come in hot. I can feel it. He's going to come in very, very, very hot, guns blazing. So that's the podcast. But first, our buddies from Pearl Jam. All right, as promised, the hardest working man in show business, Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer. He wrote 2 columns this weekend. I think he's been on 75 radio and TV shows. And now he's here on the BS podcast. Big trade. Terrible timing, as always, for us. We hate when things happen on a Friday night and a Saturday morning when nobody's on the internet. But we felt like this had a chance to happen for a month or so. Who were you more surprised pulled the trigger, Philly or Boston?
I'm surprised Boston pulled the trigger as soon as they did. I thought, if anything, this would last maybe until Wednesday night, Thursday night, a little bit before the draft. The fact that it happened when it did, that part's surprising to me, Bill. Just the timing of all of it.
Do you think that they were worried about something with Fultz where they had to maximize what the possibility of the trade was? Like, I don't understand why they didn't wait. The only explanations I could come up with are either they're worried about something with him physically, or this is part 1 of a part 2 move, which will be Jimmy Butler for Jay Crowder and the 3rd pick. What would be your guess?
I think it's definitely the second part you mentioned, where they're trying to make a bigger move. But in terms of Fultz specifically, basketball in drafting and decision making is so much more than just what the guy does on the court. And this is just speaking generally, but personality matters, character matters, health matters, and I think that's why there was a lot of talk last weekend about Philly needing to see Fultz's medical records. I don't think there's a problem. Everybody I've talked to has said he's fine. However, Fultz did hyperextend his knee twice in high school, and then this last season at Washington, he did have a sore right knee. So he said he's had knee injuries on both knees in the past 4 years. So naturally, if you're a team, you want to check that out. There's so much that goes into decision making beyond just basketball. So that all could have played a factor. Did it for Boston? I don't know, but it certainly could have, because it does for every team and every prospect that teams scout.
So from what I know of this whole thing, just from my little birdies in the Boston organization area / whatever, from the moment they got this first pick, I think they knew that Fultz was either the best player in the draft or in the conversation for the best player, but clearly, somebody who had a chance to be on 8 to 10 all-star teams if everything worked out great. Maybe not one of the best 5 players in the league, but one of the best 12 to 15. But the moment they got this pick, I think they were also kind of hoping that somebody underneath them would overpay for it. And, it's that Ainge and Belichick, football's different than basketball, obviously. Belichick trades down every time, unless it's somebody like Andrew Luck. If it's like the Myles Garrett draft, he's trading backwards. He's just trying to get more assets for the one pick. I think Ainge is wired like that a little bit. But, this is a situation where Philly, at number 3 in a loaded draft, which I think has a chance to be the best draft since 1998, just from like a 1 to 10 standpoint. But I think Ainge just looked at this whole thing and said, if I move back 2 spots, I might get the best player in the draft at number 3 anyway. And I pick up this extra asset and I have more trade value stuff. It was just never a slam dunk for them. And then obviously when they worked out Fultz for, 2 different times, if he had blown them away, they don't entertain the trade. So that's what I want to find out. What happened when Fultz came? What is your intel on that?
Well, I think one of the things you hit on, Bill, is kind of what matters here with Fultz, right? Like, they might have been blown away with Fultz, but it's also possible that they were blown away from other players too. This year's draft is deep. There's a lot of good talent. So there's been a lot of talk the last week about how you shouldn't deal the number 1 pick. Historically, X amount of players that are drafted number 1 turn into all-star players, and that's true. But the thing is, and like this is one of the things I wrote about on the article this morning, is that every draft is independent. Like you can't look just at history. You need to project the particular draft that you're scouting based a little bit on history. So one of you mentioned the 1998 draft. Someone I talked to a couple months ago talked about compared it to the 1999 draft. And normally, historically, the draft, like the number 1 pick, starts at the top of the slope and then it kind of just drops off quickly in terms of production per pick, expected pick value. But if you look at 98 and 99, it's pretty close to a flat line in terms of the production the players had throughout their career. And I know it's a little bit hard to explain over podcast, but Draft Express is a great tool for pick expectations. And if you plug in 1999 or 1998 on there, you see it's a flat line kind of from the 1 pick to the 10 pick, and then the drop-off happens.
Right.
And that's what I think will happen in this year's draft. And that's why trading down has made sense for the last couple months, and that's why I've been writing about it so much. And I think all those teams up top would be smart to at least explore it. So the fact the Celtics did it isn't really surprising, but it's a cool thing to see considering the nature of this draft.
So 1998, here's the top 10. Olowokandi, Bibby, LaFrance. So when that happened, Kevin, you were like 2 years old during that draft. But when that happened, Paul Pierce was supposed to go 1 or 2 to the Clippers or the Vancouver Grizzlies, and he started dropping. Then it went Jamison, Vince Carter, 4 or 5. Now, my dad and I was actually doing a running diary of this draft for my old website. My dad and I are watching this draft. I'm running over because back in the day we didn't have wireless. So I'm running over to his computer in the other room, and I'm just like Googling, primitive Google, to see if Paul Pierce like had a cocaine problem or something, because we couldn't figure it out. He's dropping. We're hoping for Nowitzki because we were infatuated by this 19-year-old German who had Larry Bird's hair, who could shoot, who was 7 feet. Robert Traylor, 6. Jason Williams, 7. Larry Hughes, 8. Now all of a sudden it's Nowitzki and Pierce still on the board, and we're a pick away. Nowitzki goes 9 for the trade, and then Pierce falls to 10. The best 2 guys in that draft went 9 and 10. So now you go the next year. 99, which you mentioned, which I agree is probably more similar to this draft. That was Elton Brand, Steve Francis, Baron Davis, Lamar Odom. And that was, at the time, that was your top four. Like, people felt like that was our top four in some order, which reminds me of this draft with you have Fultz, you have Lonzo, Tatum, and Jackson, I think is the consensus top four for this one. Then you had Jonathan Bender at 5, who was the high school guy who never should have gone that soon. Serbiak, Rip Hamilton, Andre Miller, Sean Marion, Jason Terry. That was your top 10.
And then it drops off.
And then it drops off and it's done. Now you're the Alaskan Assassin, Trajan Langdon, Alexander Rodochevich, Corey Maggette, William Avery, Fred Weiss. Like, the draft fell off a cliff. And you're right. It's like the 99. I tweeted that I thought this draft was better than 03 because I said it's the best draft since 98. And people got upset because they feel like 03 was this unbelievable draft. And it was. It was top heavy. You had LeBron, you had Wade, you had Carmelo, you had Bosh. Other than that, you didn't have anybody. You know, the reason why this draft is so great is because I forget who has the 9th pick. Dallas? Dallas might get the best guy in the draft. Dennis Smith might fall to Dallas. He might just be he might be the best guy in the draft. We don't know. That's what I love about this draft.
It's an amazing draft in that sense, and that's why, like, when people have unorthodox rankings, like if somebody has Dennis Smith 3rd on their rankings, I don't agree, but I'm not going to really argue like against them because this year's draft is just like that. And I think maybe the top 9 guys, in my opinion, I have Donovan Mitchell ranked 10th on my board, and I like him a lot. But kind of the top 9 is where any of those guys, it wouldn't stun me if 10 years from now we're like, oh, how'd Dennis Smith fall to 10? How'd Malik Monk end up with being the 12th pick? Jonathan Isaac falling to 7? How did we miss that? It's just one of those years, and that's why trading down makes sense. And that's why for some teams like the Kings, I'm not dealing 5 and 10. I'm keeping both those swings that I have.
Yeah, because 10, even though it feels like it's an 8 or a 9 player and then it drops, so they're kind of sitting on the outside looking at the next wave of guys, but teams always screw up. You know, you always might have Minnesota taking Markkanen 7th, and then all of a sudden that pushes somebody back. Or Dallas, who the hell knows? Dallas has always been kind of unorthodox with the draft. Like, 2 teams screw up. That's what happened with the Celtics. The Celtics had, in 98, they had the 10th pick in an 8-player draft, and 2 teams screwed up. And all of a sudden, Paul Pierce is sitting there at 10. So, there's so many different we have the Ringer NBA Draft Guide, which I would encourage everybody who cares about this draft remotely to go check out, because you and Danny Chow and Jonathan Charks, everybody did just a fantastic job. I talked to Jalen this weekend because he's doing the draft, and we had our annual long phone call about it. And at the end, I sent him the Ringer NBA Draft Guide. I was like, you should use this. Check this out. And he loved it. And Jalen like barely goes on the internet, so even he loved it. But we were talking about all the different little arguments within this draft, which is one of the things that makes it so great. Like, Fultz is the best prospect in the draft from, a safest bet standpoint. But Dennis Smith might end up being a better player. I don't know. I wouldn't bet my life against it. Then you have Jackson versus Tatum as small forwards who could go 3 or 4, 3 or 6, 4 or 7. Sixers fan Chris Ryan is entering the building. We just don't know. So you have all these little arguments within the argument, and that's why if Danny Ainge looked at this and he said, you know what, I think Jackson or Tatum are the 2 best players in this draft. We could just get these guys at 3. Let's pick up an extra pick. I can't say he's wrong. I would have kept the pick and taken Fultz, but I can't say he's wrong. Can you say he's wrong if he feels that way?
No, because the thing is like everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people have this feeling that every single general manager in the sport, every single executive and scout has the same rankings that they see on the Ringer, on ESPN, on Draft Express, on every site. But that's not the case. Every executive within individual team front offices has different boards. And if you don't, that's usually when there's a problem, because there's groupthink. You want differences in your draft board because you want disagreement and within a front office. So look, if Danny Ainge Ainge has something drastically different from other guys in that front office, if Daryl Morey has different rankings from other guys in his front office, that's what you want. You want disagreement. And there's really no consensus. I think Markelle Fultz rather is the consensus number one prospect. He's not the unanimous number one guy if you ask scouts and executives across the league.
This is not Towns sitting there at number one. And if you move back,
Davis,
right? And if you move back to like Anthony Davis, that's a good example. You move back 2 spots, and now you're getting Bradley Beal instead of Anthony Davis, and I really like Bradley Beal.
Did I just walk in on you guys drinking green Kool-Aid and talking about how Danny's figured it all out?
I actually really like Fultz, and that's Chris Ryan, by the way, Sixers fan. I really like Fultz, and I'd become very attached to him thanks to the 10.5 hours of YouTube clips I watched. So it hurt a little bit, but. But, you know, the Belichick, I always go back to what would Belichick do? Belichick would try to get more assets out of the pick. And this Lakers pick they got, it's guaranteed to be 2 through 5, or they get the Kings pick the next year. So now you have 2 swings. And if they're going to trade number 3 anyway, which it seems like it's in play, and you flip 3 for Butler instead of flipping 1 for Butler, and then you also get this Lakers pick, like that would make sense to me. Would that make sense to you, Chris Ryan?
Yeah, I think that Kevin's been writing about this all year. Like, what are the Celtics building for? They building to beat LeBron?
I don't know.
Are they building to be the landing spot for Anthony Davis in a couple years, where they make a post-LeBron run at the Eastern Conference in the finals? Are they the team that's going to challenge the Warriors? Because Jimmy Butler feels like a real let's beat LeBron move. And I know that Kevin's has said, you know, like they're doing both. And that's what the sort of like the balancing act that he's doing, that Danny is doing, is like trying to build for now and build for 3 years from now.
But I don't even know if that's a future versus present move, because Jimmy Butler's good and he's young and he's under a good contract. So if you feel like you're just grabbing somebody who's already what do you think, Kevin? He's like the 14th best player in the league, somewhere in that range?
Yeah.
With a chance to get better?
Like
yeah, and he's what, 25?
Jimmy Butler?
27.
Yeah.
So
27.
He'll be
27?
28 next year.
Okay.
28 next year.
Yeah, a little later than I don't know.
Exiting his prime.
I'll tell you what, I'm a little unsure on Jimmy Butler. I love Jimmy Butler as a player, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Part of me would rather take the gamble on Paul George over Butler, depending on and I think George would be cheaper too.
Oh, no. I would not take the game on Paul George. I think he's already looking at houses on Redfin in the LA area. I think that's a done deal.
Yeah, I get a vibe that he just wants to go to LA and enjoy himself. And, I mean, he's homesick in a way, I think. The vibe I get from people I've talked to.
We started talking about this in January, February. I think Indiana missed a really big window to trade him because... and we've seen this happen over and over again with teams.
They missed the Darren Williams window.
They missed the Darren Williams window.
The shock window.
We talked about it on this podcast. We wrote about it in The Ringer. Utah is the only example of a team that proactively said, we don't like the look in this guy's eyes. Let's move. Paul George, everybody knew that he was looking at 2018 and that it wasn't realistic for him to stay in Indy. And I think if you're Indy, you just go, well, what are we if we don't have Paul George? I would look at it the opposite. I think Boston would have overpaid for him in February.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And it's just a better trade. Now we're heading toward a similar situation, maybe with Anthony Davis, if free agency doesn't work out for the Pelicans this summer. Where
free agency is not going to work out for the Pelicans.
Drew Holiday leaves, and it's just Anthony Davis and Boogie Cousins.
Yeah.
They're now staring into the sun with this Anthony Davis thing, right? Mm-hmm. And you could argue maybe you just load up and get a million picks from Boston.
Boogie until what's the rule like once they acquire? When can they flip Boogie?
Well, they can trade him anytime. They just can't trade him back to Sacramento.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know what they do, but anyway, the Paul George thing. So if he goes to Cleveland, which is how this feels like this is going to work out.
Yeah. Well, Cleveland's pressing.
There's a love. Paul George, either it's straight up or there's a third team or however it's going to work out.
Sounds like Indy wants more based on rumors this morning. Like the Indiana is willing to do it, but they want more than just Love.
Or flip Love to a third team and get assets for that or however it works out. I don't think the Celtics can beat the Cavs with Kyrie Irving, Paul George, and LeBron James next year.
No, I don't think so.
Which makes me think they should just keep the pick and take... Kevin, you think they like Jason Tatum the most of any player in this draft, correct?
Yes, Jason Tatum from Duke. Go-to scorer, shot maker type.
All right, we're going to call Mark Titus in a little bit to ask him for his thoughts on Jason Tatum, since he watches more college basketball than anyone I know, except maybe KOC. But
Can I ask you guys a question?
yeah.
Do you like Danny Ainge's draft picks?
So this is, and we're going to call my dad at the end of this podcast, because this is my dad's conundrum. My dad thinks Danny Ainge makes great trades, but then makes terrible
I would
draft
much
picks.
rather have trader Danny than drafter Danny. And if you guys are like putting your eggs in the Danny Ainge sees something in Jason Tatum that other people don't basket, good luck.
I think he's been above average.
Okay.
Al Jefferson, Avery Bradley,
Tony Allen.
Marcus Smart.
Marshawn Brooks.
There's been some bad ones. He passed on DeAndre.
Yeah. Traded up to get
He
Olynyk
passed
over
on
Giannis.
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
He passed on Draymond Green, but a lot of teams did too.
Yeah.
Giannis, I'm not going to hold against him. I did that draft. Jalen and I were actually talking about this weekend, us watching Giannis clips on my iPad and trying to figure out if he was playing on 10-foot rims or not. There's no way that guy was going 13th.
I think Ainge's drafting record was incredible pre-Big Three era, so pre-Garnett, pre-Ray Allen, but then after that, it's been not quite as good. And I mean, one of the reasons is because the quality of the picks. I mean, later in the draft, but he had a good hit rate early in the 2000s, and since then, it hasn't been nearly as good as it was then.
The only two indefensible Ainge picks were J.R. Giddens, which just felt stupid even as it was happening, and then Fab Melo. The dearly
Fab,
departed late
yeah.
Fab Melo, but in the moment it was like Fab Melo.
Yep.
Fab Melo's a pick, and that they were good guys on the board at that standpoint. But I thought the Jaylen Brown thing worked out last year. I think if you do that draft over again, he's still KOC. Is he still the third pick?
No, I don't think so. I think
Who is
Jalen's
it?
probably more like eighth, maybe eighth,
What?
something like that.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, maybe this draft is really good.
No, that last
He
year-
might have been eight. He might have went eighth last year if he didn't get picked by the Celtics. He might have slipped.
last year's draft. You think he would have been eighth if it was a do-over?
Oh, I thought you were saying. Wait, are you asking me if Jalen, if he was in this year's draft?
No, I'm saying last year. If we redid last year's draft, is he still the third pick?
No. Okay, yeah, he'd still be third for sure.
Oh,
100%.
see, Chris Ryan gave me a
Okay.
smirk. Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's what I was saying.
He'd
So
still be
I
third.
also was with you when you were just like Jaylen Brown. You were killing Jaylen Brown.
well, he had a bad month. I got upset about it.
Okay.
I'm a passionate
You're fickle.
fan.
I know, yeah.
I'm not fickle. I'm passionate. I like my guys to be good every month.
Okay.
Now he showed me enough in Game 7 of the Wizards series that made me think. That made me still buy in, and I like the fact that he went to practice the next day after they got knocked out of the playoffs.
Did you
in
guys already
practice
talk
days.
about Isaiah? Did you guys
No, but I think we should because, the thing I was the most surprised by, which KOC and I talked about on a pod 2 weeks ago, was when I was going to different playoff games, going to the finals games, how many people were asking me about whether they're going to trade Isaiah. And I do think that was part of this. I think if you take Fultz, that if I'm Isaiah, I'm not ecstatic about that.
I think he was saying all the right things about it. I mean, those guys both went to the same school. It sounds like they know each other at least. I mean, are they friendly, Tate? Yeah, they're friendly. I mean, I'm sure that I would actually just.
So if I hired a 25-year-old guy who loved NBA and Game of Thrones and wanted to do all kinds of stuff, he
I
wouldn't
think you
feel
have.
remotely threatened.
You've
I
hired
did. What?
Entire staff. Oh man. No, I just think that here's the scenario I could see playing out. Isaiah starts, Markelle comes off the bench, or maybe. Markelle comes off the bench, and by the end of the year, people are asking, shouldn't we be starting Markelle?
Or why are we paying Isaiah $40 million when we just have Markelle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that Danny very subtly avoided that conversation by doing this.
What if they draft
He
Dennis
seems like
Smith?
way more of a businessman that he wouldn't care about that. Like he would be like, look, but you're the one who made it sound like it hasn't been since David Ortiz that there's been a folk hero in Boston like this.
I think he's way too popular to get rid of, personally. It would be one of the most unpopular Boston moves ever. It would even be maybe more unpopular than when they traded Nomar, which was pretty unpopular. But Kevin muttered under his breath when you were talking about what if they took Dennis Smith third. Do you think that's conceivable?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's not. I think Dennis Smith is a super appealing prospect, and he kind of fits Danny Ainge's type. I don't think they'd take him third, but if you trade down again, which I reported this morning on The Ringer is something that I've heard they've explored already. I don't know if it will happen, but it's something that I think they're open to. If you trade down again, Dennis Smith is one of the guys I'd have near the top of my list that I'd be targeting.
I wonder the Suns at 4. Although I've heard the Suns are never going to trade with the Celtics again after the Isaiah Thomas thing. But if they made the Suns think they were going to take Josh Jackson, who I think the Suns, Josh Jackson and Lonzo probably make the most sense, but who the hell knows? But I wonder if they could convince him to flip.
I think they like Tatum too.
Yeah, so the Suns are fine. They don't need to trade up. And the Kings, if it's true that they like Fox, I never know what to believe because I think half of this stuff is full of shit.
Yeah,
like,
half of it's agents. Half of it's agents.
Like if we like some writer, we wouldn't start leaking to people that we like the writer. We would just kind of quietly try to get the writer, right?
Yeah, I think that also, I mean, you just see there's like the Josh Jackson stuff over the last week before the Fultz trade.
Yeah.
Of like that, I think it was Thursday.
Yeah.
When Chad Ford had Danny Ainge loves Josh Jackson.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put it past him to take him one. You know, and it's like that stuff gets to Chad in a way. So that for a reason.
KOC, could Josh Jackson be Kawhi?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. No, I don't. With Jackson, why is it that last week the rumor was that Josh Jackson got a promise from a team or 2 or 3, and now this over the weekend there was something that Jackson got promised from a team that's 4 or 5. I mean, it's a little odd that so much stuff has been out there about Jackson getting promised from now 4 slots in the top 5. It's just a little odd to me.
Yeah, which is strange because he's a consensus top 5 pick, so obviously he's probably going to go in the top 5. It's almost it was like they were trying to send a signal to somebody not to take him.
Yeah,
but I don't know what it would be.
Sacramento.
Right. Could Jason Tatum be Paul Pierce?
I mean, sure. Yes, I think Pierce is far more achievable than anybody than Kawhi Leonard. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think Josh Jackson could be as good as Kawhi Leonard, but saying like, could he be? Is that his destiny to be that type of a talent, where you're just an A+ defender, great athlete, and the offensive game is actually going to end up being a little better than people think?
It's all but depends on where he lands.
So much of Kawhi is where he landed in San Antonio. He ended up with the best shooting coach in the world, right? Maybe one of the best specialist coaches ever, and he got that to improve his jump shot. Whereas Jackson, I don't know. Like Kawhi was a solid free throw shooter in college. He always had good touch. Jackson has poor form, poor success from the free throw line. That's my big hang up with him. I'm concerned about Jackson's shot. I really am. And if I'm a team in that top 5, I'm asking myself, do I want to invest in somebody when we don't have Chip England on our coaching staff to fix his jump shot? I don't know.
You're really high on Tatum, aren't you?
Yeah, you love Tatum.
I love Tatum. I think he's going to be terrific.
Great high free throw rate. Big wingspan.
Tell me
sneaky big wingspan.
Tell me like I've never watched college basketball in the last 10 years, which
is
almost
not
entirely untrue.
Right.
Why is Tatum appreciably better prospect than Jabari Parker was?
Oh.
I don't know if he's better than Jabari, but he has the similar traits in the sense that like you can see that go-to scoring ability. Parker was super smooth and still is. Tatum, his footwork is outstanding. Only 19. His ability to create space off the dribble. He's just so fluid with his movements. And I know we're always wowed and amazed by great athletes who just throw down amazing dunks and whatnot. And Tatum isn't really that guy. He leans more on just his skill and his footwork and his fundamentals, and he still has athleticism though. I just think when you project ahead with Tatum, some of the knocks on him are a little bit overrated. His defense isn't great, but if you put him in a situation like Boston that he'll need to defend to stay on the floor, he can. He's a better passer than he gets credit for, so he has other tools to complement his scoring ability. I just see him as a super advanced scorer for his age who is only going to get better. And plus, the other thing, like we talked about earlier, he's a great kid, really hard worker, and that stuff matters, all the intangibles off the court.
And he's long. I was surprised as I was doing all my recon. He's got the 7-foot wingspan.
Because now you have to like learn about all the other guys, right?
Well, the thing is, could he be a stretch 4? And the answer is, or could you play small ball with him at the 4? And you actually could because he's long.
Right.
He could just put his hands up and do stuff. All right, since we've blown Tatum for the last 3 minutes, I'm giving Tate 25 seconds to trash him. Here you go, Tate.
He doesn't play defense at all, and he shoots all the time. He doesn't pass to anyone. Just ask Luke Kennard how many times Jason Tatum passed him the ball.
Okay.
There it is.
That was Duke Hater Tate Frazier with his 15 seconds of throwing cold water on us. Hey, let's talk about Fultz for a second.
Yeah, man.
So the Sixers basically said, we don't really like this third pick, even though this draft is awesome, because basically every single person we could take doesn't really fit in with who we have.
Yeah.
And we would love a combo guard who could shoot, who could play off the ball, who could dribble the ball, who could be a go-to scorer.
This is why, like 5 days ago, I was like, I'm married to Monk because not only do I just love him,
Yeah.
but he's the guy who I feel like fits in great with this team.
Right.
Scores
But
off the ball.
Fultz fits in even better.
Yeah, I didn't know that was on the table.
And that's on the table. And obviously makes so much sense for them. I got to say, like, normally I hate everybody who is against the Celtics. It's going to be really hard for me to root against the Sixers with Embiid, my son Ben Simmons, and Markelle Fultz, all of whom I really enjoy watching, and Covington and Sarge. I like
tell you
everybody on this team.
What a profound impact the process has had on me.
Yeah.
Because you know what happens to me now every year is I get to the end of an incredibly long NBA season,
Yeah.
and then the NBA season starts.
Yeah.
Because as soon as it's over, we're trading draft picks. We're drafting guys with like serious injury problems. I'm like watching summer league. It's like this is my winter now, and you guys are all going into summer. But the Sixers are just the kings of the offseason.
We were on our Slack in the NBA section immediately putting James Andrews photos, photoshopping them with the 4 guys, including Covington, who's put on 75 pounds of muscle and now looks like
and had a
he's
meniscus last year
on the challenge.
Yeah.
But Fultz, Embiid, and Simmons,
Yeah.
if they all stay on the court, which I think for 2 of those 3 is completely 100% reasonable. Embiid, I don't know what to make of Embiid anymore.
I mean, a lot of this hinges on Embiid. They'll be. I think that they would be an adequate basketball team with Fultz and Simmons and some Saric kind of action and Covington. But if you add Embiid and Embiid is as good as he looked last year and gets better and stays healthy, then what are we talking about here?
So could you play Embiid, Saric, Simmons, Covington, and Fultz all together?
That would be the
That
inverse
feels
of the
kinda
Stan
weird.
Van Gundy offense, right?
Yeah, that feels
That would
weird,
be
right?
like Embiid and no shooters. No, I mean, that'd be Embiid and like Sarge and Fultz can shoot, but the Simmons not being able to shoot thing is really real, and it's gonna be like that's gonna be the biggest thing that we have to get through.
Hold on, but Kevin's contract says that he now has to spend 15 seconds talking about how Simmons is shooting with the wrong hand. So go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, Ben Simmons, who shoots with the wrong hand, he's going to have problems, I think, early in his career, and it's going to be an issue for the Sixers, and that's why Fultz was important, because they have another playmaker who I think could ease a little bit of pressure off him. But Simmons, look, teams are going to defend him like he's Jahlil Okafor. If he's spacing at the three-point line, he's not a concern. I have real concerns about him if he doesn't switch hands, and if anybody's wondering, like, why he's talking about Ben Simmons shooting with the wrong hand, article on The Ringer, meet the NBA shot doctors. In that is like a lot of observational evidence that Ben Simmons shoots with the wrong hand, and he admitted himself in an article a couple years back that when he grew up, he started with his right, and his dad kind of made him switch to his left. So I think Ben Simmons shoots with the wrong hand, and that could be a problem in his NBA career.
So Fultz, am I wrong to say you would have paid more than what you gave up for Fultz?
Yeah, I would.
You would have thrown Holmes in, right?
I would have thrown Holmes in.
Why didn't the Celtics get more, Kevin? That's my biggest thing with this trade is not that they traded back.
You
it's
and me
that
were
they
talking
didn't get
about
more.
number 3, Saric and Covington for number 1, like the week before.
I
I was
think-
like, yeah, I think I'd do that.
Right.
I think it was really saving cap space. I think that was part of it. They save about 1.4 million moving from 1 to 3. So if you take on a contract that's guaranteed, then you're just going to have to move that anyway in order to create max cap space. I mean, depending on the order of operations, like if they make a trade before free agency, it'll be really, really difficult to have max space. I mean, you might not be able to even get there. So I think that's what it was more about retaining the maximum amount of flexibility that they have.
Okay. So why not get like a pick swap in 2023 or something, like anything?
I don't know.
My problem with this trade
sure.
my problem with this trade from Boston side is that the way the trade is constituted, Philly had to have said yes in 3 seconds. It'd be like,
Given
all right,
the people involved, I agree with you.
all right, so we move up from 3 to 1,
Yeah.
and this Lakers thing from 2 to 5 protected, or you get the Kings pick, done. Call it in. I don't even think they would have haggled about that. But if the Celtics were then like, all right, throwing Holmes, or we want to pick swap at any point from 2020 to 2023,
I
we get
kind
it
of
once.
imagine this. I know that this isn't the case, but it's almost like there's a room that Brian Colangelo's in, and he's like Desmond in Lost. And when the trade call from Danny Ainge came in, he opens up like this manual and is like looking for like, if Danny Ainge calls
Right.
and offers you this, then ask for this in return.
Well, there's definitely a fear of Ainge because he's won so many trades. But like, if I'm the Celtics, I will never know because they never talk about this stuff. I'd love to know who made the first move. Were the Celtics quietly trying to shop it, or were the Sixers saying, "Hey, what does it
There
take?"
didn't talk about the Sixers. This had been talked about before.
The Sixers approached them.
Or that the Sixers really wanted Fultz, and the Sixers would do what it took to get up to 1.
What do you think, Kevin?
I think they're just a perfect match.
I
I just
yeah.
don't see another team in that range that made any sense for Boston necessarily to trade down for in terms of anything that could be better than that Lakers pick. And that's where, just playing devil's advocate here, what if, let's say the Celtics had held out and said, oh yeah, we can get better than that. You can have that pick be unprotected. What if it went the opposite way? What if closer to the draft, there's nothing out there for Boston and Philly's like, you know what? Let's make those protections 3 to 10 instead of 2 to 5. I'm just saying, like, what if Boston actually had less leverage here than you think?
Well, especially if they genuinely felt like they wanted to move back and that Fultz was the wrong pick for them. And they were moving back anyway.
Do you think it takes, if this third pick now becomes Butler, do you think that there's like a degree to which Ainge was thinking, what is the least amount that I can pay for Butler? And what can I get getting there? Because I'm trying to figure out why he wouldn't just say, if you want Butler, why help the Sixers? Why not just turn around and trade the 1 for Butler?
I'm gonna answer that question in 1 second. But first, what's worse than having lousy sheets?
Oh, God.
I remember being in college trying to prolong the same set of sheets for weeks because I didn't feel like doing laundry. I still have nightmares about those sheets. Guess what? Great sleep starts with the right sheets, and they're more affordable than you think. With
I bet
Bowl
your roommate
and
had
Branch.
worse nightmares about your sheets.
Maybe. Bowl and Branch. Tate, did Bowl and Branch send you sheets yet? Come on, Bowl and Branch. Send Tate some sheets. Most comfortable sheets you'll ever sleep in. Fall asleep faster, sleep deeper, wake up ready to kick some ass. Each sheet crafted from 100% organic cotton. Feel incredible, look amazing. Since Bowl and Branch sells exclusively online, no expensive retail markup, half the price, twice the quality. Anyone who sleeps on Bowl and Branch sheets loves them. Thousands of 5-star reviews, raves in the New York Times and Forbes. Even 3 U.S. presidents have Bowl and Branch sheets. I'd love to know which 3. I wonder if Trump's one of the 3. Go to bowlandbranch.com today and you'll get $50 off your first set of sheets plus free shipping when you use the promo code BS. Try them for 30 nights. If you're not impressed, return them for a full refund. $50 off plus free shipping right now at BOLLandbranch.com. All right. What was your question? It was
I
a
said,
great question.
What if the goal is to trade for Butler
Yeah.
and
To give up, they don't want to give up 1 for Butler, so you give up
because
3
of the
and you keep the
optics,
pick.
or because they think they can get something else out of that? So they get
I think they're just
3,
looking at it as
and they
assets.
get the future picks. So basically, they're quote unquote drafting Butler, right? And then they have one of the 2 Sixers assets in future years, plus the Nets pick, plus their own pick,
Why am I worried about an Isaiah Thomas Jimmy Butler combo
because they're both very headstrong guys.
who like to have the ball all the time?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
I'd be worried.
I don't know if that's a great combo. I would rather take Tatum. I really would. I like the Tatum pick. I think he's good. I'd rather have Tatum and have the Laker pick. I'm good.
I think
I
there
don't
could be
need
a
Jimmy
lot of
Butler.
problems in the locker room.
They're not going to beat Golden State in the next 2 years anyway. Nobody's beating Golden State. Build for the future. That would be my recommendation. Chris Ryan.
What
now,
about
deep
George?
thought.
You still. What if George came really cheap though? Like I know you said earlier you don't want anything to do with George, but what if it was really 25 cents on the dollar?
Yeah, but
would you be willing to take the risk then?
It would be so. This isn't David Cohn, man. You really can't just pay to rent him. Like you gotta.
David who?
David Cohn, like you know, how David Wells would get traded like every.
Oh yeah.
Every at the end at every All-Star break to like play for Toronto or the Yankees. Like
I said on Ringer Slack, which nobody could see other than people at the Ringer. I would not go further than Crowder, Smart, and the Laker pick for George. And I don't even know
Crowder
if I would,
and Smart.
Crowder and Smart and the Laker pick. And I would keep this pick. And I would just try to see the one thing with Paul George that I haven't seen mentioned, and I'm reasonably sure I'm correct on. If he makes second team or third team All NBA this upcoming year, then doesn't that mean the team that has him can offer more, or no?
No, it was just the Pacers.
Oh, because he
It's
had
just
the
the Pacers.
longevity there. Okay.
That's the same
Yeah,
thing with
yeah.
Boogie, right? Because that's why
Yes.
they were furious that Boogie
Yep.
got traded because it cost him that contract.
Right. So
Exactly.
if
Yep.
Paul George was a smart person and wanted to play in a winning team, he should okay the Cleveland trade and play there for 1 year and then just sign with LA over having LA give up an asset that would help him build a better team.
That's
right?
why Cleveland's
It's
the
like
only
Carmelo.
right partner for this because
Yeah.
Cleveland could only have another season of this core anyway.
This is why the Celtics should not trade for Jimmy Butler. They're not beating a team with
but-
LeBron, Kyrie, and Paul George on it. They're just not. It's not happening.
But why would Indiana want Kevin Love? That's the thing I can't figure out. The only benefit
I
in
like
my
Kevin
opinion
Love.
of Kevin Love is if you get him and you force feed him the ball like he did his last 3 years in Minnesota, he gets 26 and 12 because he can still do that, and then you flip him as soon as possible. But getting Kevin Love to keep Kevin Love makes zero sense. I just don't see
But has
why it makes sense
Indiana
unless they
under
wanna be a
Bird
middling
or
team.
even Pritchard ever suggested anything but like wanting to be in and around the playoffs?
Being a 42-win team, I
Yeah.
think he fits the plan perfectly.
If that's your goal, then great. If
Yeah,
that's
but
your goal,
that's
then
one of those
then do
teams
your
where I feel
thing-
like the
do your
institutional
thing, great.
culture. If that's but the Indy's one of those teams where I feel like that's the culture there.
They've never tanked.
Old owner, right?
Yeah, old owner. They don't tank. It's a little like what Herb Cole was like in Milwaukee too. Don't tank.
Yeah.
Try to compete every year. I'm higher on Kevin Love than you, Kevin. I think if he was just completely marginalized in Cleveland, and I still think it would take him a week to get the inside-outside game back, and you could build an offense around him and Turner. And to be honest,
That's the appeal.
I'm not crazy about. I'm not crazy what I saw from Paul George the last couple of years. I don't think he's a number one guy. I think he'd be an unbelievable number 3 guy.
Well, that's what he's setting himself up to be.
Yeah.
I mean, unless he goes to the Lakers, and even in the Lakers, it's like they're still trying to build up Ingram. They have the number 2 pick, unless they flip it for trade for George, I guess.
If the Lakers could trade Ingram and Dang for Paul George, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but
If
they're
that's
not
a
going to trade
way.
Ingram though.
You
No.
wouldn't do that for who? Indy?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that for George.
You wouldn't do
Ingram?
that if you were the Lakers?
No, I'd keep Ingram.
See,
No way. Ingram's gonna be really good. Like he made really good progress towards the end of the season. He's so young.
but you're dumping
Like, he
the
needs
Dang
time.
contract in that trade, I think, is part of the appeal, right? If you
I don't
think
I don't
LeBron's
it's that
coming,
big of a difference.
if you think LeBron's coming,
I
You
think
ne-
you can get George for cheaper than that. I really do. I don't think
Really?
you should have to give up Ingram.
so you're talking like a Julius Randle, Jordan Clarkson combo?
Yeah, I mean, why not
Oh,
get
God.
like D'Angelo Russell instead? Like, why Ingram? Ingram is going to be really good for a really long time.
If I was Indy, I would just call Paul George's bluff.
And do what? Keep him?
Just keep him and hope he makes All NBA, and that you could offer him $50 million more than everybody else.
I think the whole I don't think he wants to stay. We've been down this. This is
I know,
Carmelo all
but if
over
I'm
again.
looking at Julius Randle and Jordan Clarkson for Paul George, I'm just keeping him at that point and hoping that February yields a better offer.
If it is Carmelo, you can get a better offer in February. some
Yes.
team will be willing to give more then. I think don't settle for just Kevin Love and like Jetty Osman now from the Cavs and like their 2021 first. Wait until the season, and then some team might be desperate, willing to give up more. Maybe the Lakers at that point are like, oh damn, we might lose them if we don't go all in.
The only thing is,
I think that's
Kevin,
when
I
we do
agree
it.
with you, but think about what would have happened if they tried to do Wiggins for Love at the All-Star break the year Wiggins got drafted after everybody saw
That's a
his
good
jumper.
example. Well, that's a good example though. The
I feel like
Wiggins Love
draft
thing
picks
happened
lose
at
their
the
value
perfect
as
time.
soon as they start playing.
Yeah, it's true. But Wiggins Love is the perfect test case for what Indy needs to do with Paul George, where the greatest trade possible materialized out of nowhere. And if it's 6 months later, it all of a sudden maybe doesn't seem like the greatest trade ever. as
Right.
Andrew Wiggins is wobbling around. Last question, KFC, and then we were going to call Mark Titus. How much did the brain doctor have to do with this trade? For Fultz.
You know, it's very funny that you mentioned that. I texted one of my buddies about that yesterday. I asked that exact question. I wonder how much Brain Doctor factored into this, and I don't know, but I'm sure the Brain Doctor certainly might have
You know
played
the
a role.
Ainge, you know
with Markelle
Chris, you know
Fultz.
Ainge's brain doctor.
He's got like a guru.
He asks all these weird questions. So he probably asked Markelle Fultz like, okay, Markelle, like a diehard situation. Terrorists enter the Celtics practice facility. What do you do? And Markelle Fultz is like, I'd look around and wait for somebody else to stop them.
Oh.
And they're like, you're out. We're trading you now. Like, I think they ask
He's not
weird
trying
questions
to be
like
in
that.
Starfleet.
I'm just saying. He's the brain doctor. All right, KOC. We'll see you in LA. You're coming here tomorrow, and I'm sure you'll probably be on at least 7 of our podcasts over the course of the week. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me. See you tomorrow.
All right. All right, we're gonna call Mark Titus in a second. Tate, why don't you dial him up as I'm reading this ad? It's not just an ad; it's propercloth.com. Every guy knows that it's hard to find a dress shirt that fits. Maybe the collar's too tight, the sleeves are too long, the shirts are too loose, or you're like me, where you're just a tall, lanky guy with no muscle tone whatsoever. Well, I have some good news. Ordering a custom fit shirt has never been easier thanks to Proper Cloth. Create a custom shirt size in seconds by just answering 10 easy questions, no measuring required. Choose from over 20 collar styles, 10 cuff styles, 500 fabric styles, from classic to business, to completely customize your shirt and get the style that you want. All high quality with the absolute best quality and craftsmanship, starting at just $80. Proper Cloth guarantees a perfect fit, meaning that if somehow your shirt doesn't fit perfectly, they will remake it for free. Stop wearing shirts that don't fit. Look your best. Go to propercloth.com/BS. Enter gift code BS to save $20 on your first shirt. Again, that is propercloth.com/BS. Gift code BS. On the line right now, the biggest college basketball fan on the planet, Mark Titus.
Oh, yeah.
First question. Did my Celtics make the biggest mistake of our lives trading down and giving up Markelle Fultz?
You made the biggest mistake in firing Rick Pitino, who the news just broke. He's going to have to take down his 2013 national title banner. I thought that's why you had me on, to talk prostitution still.
I forgot about
I thought we were talking about prostitution again.
Wait a second. Let's talk about that. I hate Rick Pitino. Give us the Rick Pitino story in 2 minutes.
The Rick Pitino story, he basically, they brought 16-year-old guys on recruiting visits. They would just be hanging out in the dorms, and then suddenly these strippers would burst into the dorms and start giving them lap dances, and then the assistant coaches would toss them condoms and say, go have sex with these women, and the guys were really uncomfortable. And and so now they're going to have to, for the first time in NCAA basketball history, they're going to have to take down a national title banner, and it's amazing. It's unprecedented. And Rick Pitino has released a press statement saying he's lost all faith in the NCAA and what they stand for and all that kind of shit.
Oh, my God.
It's amazing.
So
anyway, sorry. Back to the point.
So wait, you're saying we shouldn't do that when we're recruiting for writers for The Ringer anymore?
Right. Yeah, that's how I came on with the Ring. That's how you first got me.
I know.
You and I first got in touch. Yeah, back in the day.
You were 16, and I just sent some strippers over to you. So Pitino doesn't get fired for that? Explain that to me just
No.
quickly. That's not a
he wins
fireable
games.
offense?
That's all no, because he wins games. That's all that matters. He wins. Bill, this is gonna be shocking to you, but the NCAA, as it turns out, it's not just about amateur athletics and turning boys into men and giving guys education opportunities. It actually is a lot about money and running a business. Who would have thought?
Chris Ryan,
Shocking, I know.
Sixers fan Chris Ryan is here as well. Who should he be?
Anyway.
Rank it from him being super excited about Markelle Fultz to me being traumatized by it. Who do you feel more bad/happy for?
I would be happy. I mean, I'm happier for the Sixers fans, obviously. Like that core
Thank
of
you, Mark.
what's it going to be? Simmons, Embiid, and Fultz. That's amazing. That's exciting. And TJ McConnell. Like that's a foursome. You know, that's terrifying. That's devastating.
Future Sixer JJ Redick,
Oh,
Rashawn
yeah.
Holmes, Dario.
What is? I'm sure you've already talked about this, or you will. What is Danny Ainge doing? Like, I need this explained to me because I don't get into the weeds.
He's
of,
playing seven-dimensional chess, Mark.
Yeah.
Mere mortals like us can't explain how to build for 2018 and 2025 at the same
Right.
time.
We're all playing checkers and he's playing chess, so don't ask.
It feels like he's waiting for like the 2025 draft so he can own the entire first round and just sit back and just like, I want everybody. I'm taking them all, and that's his plan. I'm really confused, but I feel like he's overthinking it. I mean, like this is hyped as like the best draft in a long time, and I know every draft gets billed like that. That seems to be the thing every year. Like this draft is so deep and all that. But it felt like people were serious about this one. And you have a guy in Fultz who is clearly the best player and the deepest and best draft in a long time and all that kind of stuff. Like, why are we overthinking this, Danny? Just
I hate this.
Take the
Yeah,
best
it's like-
player in the deepest draft.
Everybody was like, this is the 99 draft again. And then the closer we get, it's like, oh, by the way, like Lonzo sucks and Tatum
Yeah,
is
right,
just
right.
Jabari Parker and I don't know, like De'Aaron Fox can't shoot. And then it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Everyone picks it apart. KOC and I talked at the beginning of this about, I really do feel like this is on the level of the 98-99, where if you have the 9th pick, you might get the best guy in the draft. We just don't know.
But now I
Yeah.
feel like people are like, everybody's just waiting for Michael Porter anyway. You know, it's just like, what are we
that's
talking
people.
about?
People, that's lazy narrative. But are you
But
sure?
That's going to happen again next year. Porter's going to come along and they'll be like, well, he's not actually that good. Let's trade down and let's worry about the guy in 2020 who's going to be the – like it feels to me like the NBA, like that's become the thing. It's just like we don't actually want to build a team now. We're just perpetually building for the future that never actually comes.
I think
And
people-
it's hilarious to watch.
I know, but I think people are paralyzed by the Warriors. I think
that's true.
there's like a helplessness where they just look at it and they go, well, we can't beat that team anyway. So what do? You really like
That's
the
true.
Celtics
That's a
were
good
one of
point.
the Celtics were the 4th, maybe even the 3rd best team in the league this year. And they got annihilated by the Cavs, who then got annihilated by the Warriors.
Yeah.
And probably could have been swept if they didn't hit 24 threes. And they killed the Celtics.
Yeah.
Now, Isaiah wasn't healthy for that series.
And
but
there's
still.
been an erosion of appreciation for teams like Toronto, Washington, the Clippers.
You don't want to be those teams.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So if the Celtics take Jason Tatum at 3 and keep the pick, and then end up with this Lakers pick that, has a chance to be 2 through 5 next year, or flips to the Kings pick. But should I be bummed out that I get Jason Tatum out of this draft when I had the first pick?
Is that what they're going to do, you think? Tatum instead
I think
of Jackson?
Tatum. Yeah, I think
Tatum makes sense.
Yeah. So tell us about Tatum.
I was under the impression they're going to take Jackson, which I definitely did not like. I like Jackson as a player. I do not like Jackson with the Celtics when they've already got like Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, and they don't need another guy with a questionable jump shot
Right.
on the wing who plays defense and all that kind of stuff. But Tatum to me is like the best. He's the most NBA ready guy now. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't. There are a lot of factors that go into like winning Rookie of the Year and all that kind of stuff, but just as it stands today, without really knowing what teams all these guys are going to end up on and what their situations are going to be and what happens in free agency, Tatum to me like seems like a good Rookie of the Year pick. Just as far as, I mean, the downside to him is like what you see is what you get. Like he's not really going to get much better. I mean, he's just going to kind of be the same guy. He's going to score more throughout his career, like slowly get better, but he's not going to. Fultz obviously has the bigger upside. Ball has a huge upside. De'Aaron Fox, ton of potential. But Tatum, I don't really see like a ton of potential with him. But at the same time, he's also like probably the best player as it stands right now. So yeah, I'd be excited for the Celtics if you've already got like a ton of guys you can be excited about, and maybe Gordon Hayward's coming and all that kind of stuff. Then yeah, Tatum makes sense.
Your teed up partner, Tate Frazier, needless to say, had some mean remarks about
Tate
Tatum.
highlighted some minuses. Let's just put it that way.
Tate concentrated on the minuses in the Jason Tatum package. So I'm
That's
glad you.
shocking. Where did Tatum go to school? I forget.
He
Was
went
it
to
Duke?
a place in North Carolina, the Duke University.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Oh,
Tate,
that's weird.
Tate wasn't a fan. There's been some Dennis Smith buzz, and we have not talked about him on this podcast with you. He had the 48-inch vertical leap that everybody got blown away about, and I felt from the beginning that this was Steve Francis 2.0 all over again. Just seems like the kind of guy who's going to put up good stats on a bad team. Is there anything you like about him that I'm missing?
I mean, I think you hit it. I didn't watch a ton of NC State this year. I was boycotting Mark Gottfried. So I purposely wasn't going to get sucked into the vortex because NC State was like billed as this great team. They had a Turkish dude that they brought in that was supposed to be great too, and Dennis Smith, and I knew they were going to be terrible. So I purposely didn't watch many games and I boycotted them. But no, like he was in the games I did watch. Yeah, he's just like really explosive, really raw. Like he clearly wasn't well coached and wasn't really sure what he's supposed to be doing out there. But I don't know. I could see him, having a great NBA career. I mean, like he's got the stuff you can't teach, which is good, right? Like being able to jump high. That's typically a good thing.
And Lonzo is now, Chris, you feel like there's some Lonzo backlash that seems to be all driven by his dad.
The relative silence of the Lakers over the last 5 days to me signals that they're just sold on Lonzo. Because
they should be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great story. It's like I can't wait for this to happen.
It's the best. It's the best. I just think he has the highest ceiling of I even think he has a higher ceiling than Fultz, I got to be honest. Like if it all falls into place and he has the right teammates, it could be magical. It could be like everything I wanted from Ricky Rubio blown out bigger. Remember Rubio in the 2008 Olympics where he was like 17 playing the Americans? We were like, oh my God, and then it was just like everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for his NBA journey.
Right.
Stays in Spain for 2 years, goes to Minnesota, he's on a shit team. Kobe rolls into his leg. He's never the same from that. 17 different coaches. And I think Lonzo is just better than him anyway, like better than what the Rubio
had that run
was.
like the second half of last season where his jumper got inexplicably hot for like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And you were just like, this guy would have obviously been a Hall of Famer if he could if he could shoot. This is amazing. Like he was also single-handedly just like making Wiggins and Towns incredible.
Yeah. The Lakers should take Lonzo. Titus, give us your top 5 ranked on who you'd want to play pickup basketball with.
I mean, Lonzo would definitely be number 1.
Me too.
Because he passes. He's pass first.
Yeah, you're getting the ball.
And he's just, he was so fun to watch. I'm semi-worried about, like, he's got one-on-one move, and it's a 35-foot step back that he shoots from the wrong shoulder. That, like, kind of worries me, if I'm being honest, but, like, it goes in. He makes it a lot, so that's kind of cool. He would definitely be number 1. I would say Malik Monk, I would love to play pickup with. He would drive me crazy if he's not hidden, but I respect guys that get hot, and I as someone who can get hot myself, clearly not on the level of Malik Monk, but
Titus, that was because you were never in the right system, man.
Yeah, Titus, you were in the wrong situation.
As someone who firmly believes in feeding the hot hand in pickup basketball, and it drives me up a wall when people do not feed the hot hand, I would love playing with Monk when he's got the hot hand and just like finding a way to get him the ball.
Wait, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because the advanced metrics 538 culture, where sometimes they write stuff when it's clear that they maybe haven't played sports as much as other people. But there's been this whole thing about how the hot hand is a myth and it doesn't really exist.
It's total bullshit. It doesn't exist. Get out of here.
It 1,000,000% exists, and there are moments when the rim just gets bigger. And it was when I did the pod with Durant last week, and one of my favorite parts about that pod was when he was talking about how bummed out he was that the finals was over because he was hot.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I was in the zone. I want to keep playing basketball. The rim is huge for me right now. And Monk is a great example of the rim just gets big for him.
Yeah.
And he goes on these binges. That's why if we're doing the most fun version of this draft, Monk on the Knicks is the most fun destination. Him and MSG having like these
Oh,
29
Monk going
point
on
halves.
like a
Yeah.
Klay Thompson run at
Yeah.
MSG. Yeah.
And MSG just fucking losing their mind because Monk and Porzingis are hitting 23s and a half. That's the most fun for this. All right, so you have Monk second. Who's third for playing pickup?
I guess Fox. I like Fox a lot. He plays really hard. He would kind of. I would want him on my team because I wouldn't want to play against him. Like he would be the guy that takes it way too seriously.
Yeah, he's guarding you full court.
Yeah, it'd drive me nuts. So I'd want him on my team so I wouldn't have to play against him. Then probably Fultz, just because he can do a little bit of everything, and those are valuable guys to have.
And he's
he just kinda
mellow.
fits in wherever he needs.
Yeah, he's mellow.
and
He
chill
won't care
out.
if he takes the last shot.
And then I guess it's Jackson or Tatum, and I'm not sure which one. It depends on what we need, I guess. I didn't really thought about it. I want to shoot a lot, so I would say Jackson. I would make him play defense. I don't want Tatum treating me like I'm Luke Kennard and trying to fight for shots like he did on Duke last year. I want the shots. So, yeah, which I guess is like counterproductive if I said I want Monk on my team and I want the shots, but you know what I mean. So.
Tate just did his rankings, and Luke Kennard and Tatum were last. They were tied for last place.
They're at the end of the second round.
Last question, then
I should have said.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
should have said, yeah, Luke Kennard, Markkanen, all the shooters, Monk.
That's true. The Hornets are figuring a way how to get Markkanen. They need to add him to their list of
I
7
feel
foot
bad for
white
the
guys.
The T-Wolves have been attached to Markkanen in every single mock. Like, there's never been a second. Like, I've never seen a single, like, oh, yeah, maybe they'll trade back or maybe
Right.
they'll trade Zach LaVine in this pick for something. It's just always like, nope, Markkanen. It's like, what? Like, what?
Yeah.
It would be funny if Tibbs gave a press conference and was like, look, we're not fucking taking Markkanen, all right? that guy can't rebound. Last question. There's been some Luke Kennard climbing into the top 10 buzz. He's this year's workout warrior. Every year there's a workout guy. And after Joe Alexander went 8th, I thought that would be scared. But no. Then Nick Stauskas. Like every couple of years this happens again. Is Luke Kennard an NBA player? Is this somebody that's going to start for a good team?
Oh my God, this is, yes or no. That's my answer. Yes, yes or no. I don't know. So if you didn't watch Kennard play a lot, you might think that he's just a shooter. And I will say that he's definitely not just like a spot up 3-point shooter. He can score. He's a scorer who can shoot. And I'm not really sure if that translates well. I was a believer in like guys like Morrison. I thought Redick is having a good career. I guess like maybe he might be that would be the comparison. I know they both played at Duke, and I'm trying not to compare white Duke guys to other white Duke guys, but yes, I want to say yes. Like I'm a college guy, but I know like people are going to make fun of him and be like he's not actually that guy. I think his biggest problem is he's a white guy who played from Duke and he's from Ohio. And if he was like from Europe somewhere, if he was from France and he was some like 18-year-old who was billed as like the next big thing, I think people would be more excited about him because I don't know. White guys who are shorter than 6'6" from America, there's not exactly a great track record there.
So if you
in
said,
modern NBA.
so if his name was Luka Kennardic and he's from Croatia, people would be higher on him?
People will love him. I make this point all the time with like that's a huge deal. That's why like there's a kid me and Tate talk about this on our podcast all the time. There's a kid at Kansas from Ukraine, Sviatoslav Mikhailuk, who's 6'8" and is supposed to like be this great shooter. And every time in a marquee game, like he does nothing. But like you check these mock drafts, he's always like projected to go first round because he's a 6'8" dude from Europe who can shoot and kind of handle the ball a little bit. I swear there's something to that. Is that you got to be European.
The best case ever of this was Mike Dunleavy Jr., who, if he was just a Lithuanian guy named Alexandre Dunlevich or whatever, he would have been everybody would have not known what to do with him. But he had the combo of he went to Duke and was a junior and then just was graded on this curve for his whole career. But he actually was like a pretty skilled weight swingman guy for a long, long time. All right. I'm more dubious of Kennard. The word combo guard is always a red flag for me because that just tells me you can't play either position well.
That is true.
Who's a combo guard? Like Dellavedova? Right? Grievous Vasquez?
We haven't used combo guard in a while.
Combo guard is worrisome. I like somebody to be able to play one of the two positions well. Combo guard means I can't play either well.
Titus, how high are you on Jonathan Isaac?
Not as high as Tate, who loves Jonathan, who proclaim Jonathan Isaac to be National Player of the Year like throughout the season and all this kind of stuff. But I think the tendency there is like people think he's Durant, which is what happened with Brandon Ingram, where they're like, oh, a skinny dude who can shoot threes a little bit. You're the next Durant, and
Right.
he's not that. He's definitely not that. But he also is. Yeah, he's like 7 foot tall and can shoot threes, so that's cool. I would say he's properly rated if we're doing the patented overrated, underrated, properly rated thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
all right, this is my new last question. Can we at least agree that
Okay.
Josh Jackson is going to be an incredible in-game dunker in the NBA? Like at the very least,
Yeah.
that's going to happen, right?
Yes, he is. Yes, he's going to win a dunk contest. I would bet on that.
He's like a 9.5 out of 10 on the dunking on guys scale.
Yes, he also strikes me as a guy who like is very serious about. He'll be very serious about the dunk contest. I hope I'm right, but like
Like a little too
he strikes me as
serious?
a guy who, yeah, like he's gonna want to win the dunk contest. He's gonna want to dunk on people. Yeah, he's very aggressive, very intense. I love Josh Jackson. So yes.
Because I went on a
Plans-
YouTube deep dive. I had watched him in college and I thought he was good, but I went on a YouTube deep dive to try to see what his extended offensive game was. And it was just like all dunk videos.
Yeah.
It was just him dunking in
Yeah.
traffic, on alley-oops, all over the place. And I didn't really see a lot of drop steps or beating guys off the dribble, little baseline followaways, none of that. But I saw dunks. I saw lots and lots of dunks. So you're right.
Yeah.
For the Celtics, a team that has Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown and all that probably don't need another
There needs
guy.
to be a rule of how many defensive bulldogs you can have on one team.
Right.
Yeah. Unless you're trying to create a rock fight team. All right, Titus, are you writing this week?
Yeah, I'm writing about for the bad movie week. I'm writing about Roadhouse. I'm really excited about that.
Fantastic. Great to hear that.
I haven't watched Roadhouse, and then I think I'm going to do something for the draft. I'm going to watch the draft, which, by the way, because a certain somebody that's I'm talking to right now has kind of retired the draft diary thing,
Yeah.
and is not giving the people a rundown of the draft as an
Yeah.
event. I'm going to try to write about like the draft as an event because
Do
that's
it.
super interesting to me. Like everyone talks about like what this means for the teams moving forward, like grade the team's drafts, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to. That's not as interesting for a guy like me who's like a college basketball guy. I'm more interested in like Fran Fraschilla popping out of his bunker to talk about these, Eastern European guys that he started scouting 3 weeks earlier, and and stuff like that. That's.
You know what?
I'm excited about Shane Battier when he was interviewing guys after they would get drafted,
God.
and he's just monotone and all that kind of stuff. Like
I
that,
did that.
To me, the draft is an awesome event, and I'm excited to watch it. So I'll probably write something about that.
I did that draft when Shane Battier, who was such a
Oh,
nice
yeah,
guy,
yeah.
and he just didn't know how to be a sideline reporter. It was too bad.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah.
Fran's really like that because we did the
Yeah.
Giannis draft together. And Jalen and I were so confused by the Giannis clips because we couldn't tell if they were 10-foot
Right.
rims, all that stuff. And Fran had somehow watched like 120 Giannis games dating back to like the 7th grade. But yeah, he had the classic quote about that Bruno guy that Toronto picked.
Oh, a
He
year
said
away from being a
he
year
was
away?
2 years away from being 2
years
years
away.
away.
Yeah,
But
I love Fred.
yeah, Fran was good.
He's awesome.
The problem with the draft, like from when I was doing the diaries way back when, there was so much unintentional comedy, but then the agents and the reps around the players have figured out how to nullify a lot of the comedy. All the suits
Yeah.
are very like well thought out now, and the guys are a lot more polished than they were.
Also, pick tipping is like kind
Pick
of
tipping has
killed the
ruined it, yeah.
televisual event.
Yeah. Like when I was doing it, Darius Miles walked up to the stage and gave David Stern a full body dick on dick hug. That would never happen now. Like you can go look it on YouTube, whatever draft that was. He hugs him and it's like a romantic hug. That doesn't happen anymore. And that's so anyway, if you can mine the comedy of this draft, I fully support it. Use the diary gimmick. I bequeath it to you.
Okay, I'll think about
or
it.
a
I mean, I'm
version of
definitely
it.
I'm definitely gonna grill John Calipari. John Calipari is gonna get in front of a camera at some point, and he's gonna do his thing where he complains about how he doesn't know which of his players' tables to sit at, and he's
Right.
like, he does that complaint thing where it's like actually like a humble brag type situation.
Yeah.
He's the master of that. That's gonna piss me off. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be enough content for me to work with. But
All right,
that's
Titus.
the plan. So cool.
Thank you.
Yep. See you
All right.
guys.
All right, thanks to Chris Ryan as well for joining us. We're going to call my dad in 1 second, but first, a quick break with a message brought to you by CreditWise from Capital One. Credit is like a golf major. It's all about how well you perform against the factors that go into a credit score. How good are you at paying your bills on time? How much credit do you have spread across different accounts? And how long have those accounts been open? All of these factors impact your credit health, and since there is no one single score that
I'm on a
lenders use.
podcast right now.
Yeah, my dad, crash the egg. Dad, can you wait 1 second until I finish this read?
Sure, sorry.
Since there's no one single score that lenders use, knowing these factors are key. CreditWise lets you track the factors that make up your credit health using information from your TransUnion credit report. The app can help you spot errors or identify theft and lays out information you need to understand your behaviors and how they impact your credit health. Plus, you can check it anytime without negatively impacting your credit. My dad's credit health is fine, but his health is not fine after this trade. Anyway, the best part, it's 100% free for everyone, whether you're a Capital One customer or not. So step up your game and download CreditWise today. All right, my dad's on the phone. My dad is really upset. He's about as upset as I've seen him with a Boston sports trade. As he put it in text the other day, he thinks Danny Ainge is great at trades and bad at drafting. And I texted him, well, this should make you happy. He's great at trades. And my dad texted back, yeah, but he's bad at drafting. So it's like a chicken or an egg thing. You're on the phone. Dad, give us your thoughts.
Well, I'm just, all season long we were hoping that Brooklyn would fall so far that we'd end up with the number one draft pick, which means you have total control over which player you want to take. And you want to take the number one, the best player that's out there. And it just feels like one of those trades where we traded 2 quarters for $1, and nobody knows what that Laker pick's going to look like. Nobody knows what New Orleans is going to look like in 2 years. The only way that I could make sense of the trade of the draft picks and live with it is if it's part of a bigger plan to package a number of these assets together to bring in somebody. And I don't know who that somebody is. I mean, the two you keep hearing about are Butler and Anthony Davis, and I can't see Anthony Davis ever happening. So it just makes no sense to me unless they were really worried about Fultz's knee, which you mentioned to me.
I was guessing though. I don't know either way. It just seems like maybe if they were worried about him physically, or if they had just decided they have to pay Isaiah, and to pay Isaiah $40 million a year and Fultz $8 million a year, when now you're paying 2 guards half of your salary cap. Maybe they just didn't want to do that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if they're going to pay Isaiah, whoever the second guard is going to be paid. If it's Avery Bradley, he's going to be paid good money.
20.
I mean, if they bring somebody in here, he's going to be paid good money. If they are fortunate, it's going to be interesting. I'm still not convinced that the Lakers are going to take Ball. I don't know about you, but we could end up sitting there with the 3rd pick trying to choose between Ball and Tatum. And I just think that's ludicrous. And the other thing I mentioned to you, I was watching TV. I wasn't there, but was watching TV last year when Rick Grossback went out to a very large crowd at the Garden to announce that they had chosen Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
And he got so strongly booed. Well,
yeah. What
do you think's going to happen this time? People were really locked in up here to Fultz.
Yeah. So you think you still live in Boston? We've talked about that before, but for anybody who doesn't know that, everyone in Boston is upset about this trade, right?
Everyone I've talked to, first of all, doesn't think they got enough for it.
Yeah.
If there's everything we've read has said that there's been 3 tiers of players in the top 15. Fultz was in a tier by himself. Then you had a tier of four or five other people, and then all the others.
Well, or Fultz and Lonzo were in a tier together. It was either Fultz or Fultz and Lonzo together, but that doesn't matter for us because we have the third pick.
Well, I never read that Lonzo was in the same tier as Fultz.
Chad Ford had
Because,
that. Chad Ford did the tiers. You just won't pay for ESPN Insider anymore because you won't give ESPN any money. But
Well, no, I won't. For reasons that I probably shouldn't talk about publicly.
yeah,
But,
especially after last week.
after last week. And I just read an article in Hollywood Reporter
Yeah.
that made me cringe. But anyway, that's a different topic. I just nobody I have chatted with thinks if we had gotten more than just one extra draft pick or
Right.
or even a player, I thought that Holmes, the center on Philly,
Yeah.
would have been a tremendous asset for us. And Philly has about 12 centers, so
Right.
I'm not sure why Ainge didn't apply something more in order
So-
to make this deal.
Kevin O'Connor was on before you, and he theorized and feels pretty confident about the information that one of the appeals for this thing for them was that they saved like $1.5 million in cap space, dropping
Well, I
from
read
1 to
that.
3, and they didn't want to add a player because they're trying to get as much money as possible for free agency. Was his theory. Because I feel the same with you. I just feel like Holmes or Saric probably should have been in this deal.
Should have been in the deal, and if that's the small amount of money that you're trying to make up, then cut more people on the current team. I mean,
Right.
how many people on this current team are people that you couldn't live without? 2 or 3 probably.
What did
I mean-
2 or 3? I couldn't live without.
Couldn't live without.
Yeah, it's basically
Horford.
Isaiah Horford and Jalen.
And
And
Jaylen
maybe
Brown,
Bradley.
Maybe.
Not
But
for $25 million a year though, but for $8 million, Bradley
Right.
I would put on that
Right.
list.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about the future. That in a year, Avery Bradley is going to want much more money than that, and he may want almost maximum money. You're not going to pay him that. I don't think you're going to pay him.
So
that
you're
if
saying
it's
you
all-
would have rather gotten Holmes and then given away Terry Rozier to make up the money?
Of course. I mean, even the Terry Rozier pick 2 years ago, you
Yeah.
know, he came in, he had 2 good workouts, and suddenly a mediocre season became this secret lottery choice that Danny Ainge was going to make. And the guy's mediocre. You know, he has a couple of good moments every game, but, you know, he's not going to take you anywhere. And, if you have to give up his salary and bring in a Holmes, I'd make that trade in a millisecond.
You even like that. You're like the last person in the world who likes Okafor too.
At least Okafor gives you an inside presence, and I think Okafor and Horford could play together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would have rather. I think Holmes would have been a much cheaper option because he was a free agent or a second-round pick. So I would have gone that route because he's a rebounder. I mean, we watched every one of these playoff games. Most of the season, we got out-rebounded. And he made no move, Ainge, at the trade deadline in February.
Yeah.
I just feel like I know Ainge has made 3 great trades that certainly he should get a lot of credit for. Bringing in
KG,
Garnett,
Ray Allen.
that period, making the trade with Brooklyn, New Jersey for those draft picks, and then signing Isaiah or trading for Isaiah. But there's a lot of other moves that are really iffy. When you look at some of the draft picks that are no longer on our team, I mean, James Young, the three-point shooter that is out of the league now. I don't know. Just
All right, so let's quickly go through this. So here's the Ainge draft record, because I've heard you say this, and let's just talk about it. 2004, Jefferson, Delonte, and Tony Allen. That was a good draft. right?
Jefferson was a very good pick at, I think, 16 or 17.
15, yeah.
The other two guys are role players.
Tony Allen at 25 is a good pick. Delonte was nuts, but he was a good pick at 24. You got to give him that. So he's 1-0 with that draft. Next year, Gerald Green and Ryan Gomes.
Terrible draft. What are you kidding?
Next
I
year,
mean, they were part of the trade for Garnett, but keep going.
the next year took the 7th pick, and instead of taking Rudy Gay, traded it to Portland for Sebastian Telfair and put the LaFrance contract.
What a great pick. Maybe Danny will testify at his trial. Probably it's coming up next week or soon.
Well, they did get rid of the LaFrance contract in that trade.
I like LaFrance.
All right.
He's
So
one of my lefties.
07, they flipped Jeff Green for Ray Allen. So I support that.
We gave him credit for that one.
2008, flipped. Took J.R. Giddens over DeAndre Jordan. I got to say, you were very unhappy about that. Even that night, you were upset about that one.
When you and I were talking on the phone before we had our pick, I said to you, they need to take DeAndre Jordan. He's a terrific rebounder.
You'd seen him for 2 minutes, but you were all in on him.
All in on him. I never saw him play, but I'm all in on him. He's 8 feet tall.
Right.
He's a rebounder.
Okay. So they messed that one up. 2009, they didn't have a pick.
You think?
2010, Avery Bradley at 19. It's a good draft.
You know, he's an okay ball player.
Oh, stop. Avery Bradley's good. Come on. Don't do that.
You rate him much higher than I do.
The 2012 had 2 picks in a row, 21 and 22. Took Jared Sullinger and Fab Melo.
Oh, we'll have that work out.
The next 8
They're both out of the league, by the way.
The next 8 picks were all terrible, but then the second round in that draft had Jay Crowder, Draymond Green, Chris Middleton, and Will Barton, all from 30 to 40.
Wait a minute, we didn't draft Jay Crowder.
No, I'm saying those guys were all in the second round. Instead of taking the 2 they took.
Right.
The year after, they had 16, traded up and took Kelly Olynyk, who you can say what you want, but I went to Wiz Celtics Game 7 with you, and you were chanting Kelly, Kelly at the top of your lungs. So no, I'm going to give that a win.
Well, I believe me, I was not chanting Kelly.
You were chanting Kelly, Kelly, and you were like, "Oh my God, it's like Larry Bird came back to life." I totally remember that.
Okay.
But they did pass on Giannis, so we should mention that, right?
Really? He was sitting there, huh?
Yeah, that's a tough one. 2014, Marcus Smart, 6th pick. The next 6 picks were Julius Randle, Nick Stauskas, Noah Vonleh, Alfred Payton, Doug McDermott, and Dario Saric. I still support the Marcus Smart pick. I'm sorry.
Well, you're higher on him than I am, too. I think I could go out there and shoot 28%, by the way.
You like Marcus Smart. Now you're just being a dick. So 2015, you were not happy about this draft. Rozier at 16. R.J. Hunter at 28. And then Jordan Mickey at 33. You'd do all those picks again.
And I remember when, I don't know whether, I remember when they took Rozier and the next pick was Porter that Chicago took.
No, Portis was like 5 picks later. Yeah.
Okay, but Porter would have helped us. He certainly, he fills a need. We don't need 12 guards on our team. So the Rozier pick was puzzling.
So so here's some of the guys in that draft because they had 3 picks and they just didn't do well. Sam Decker was 18. Portis was 22. Larry Nance Jr. was 27, who turned out to be a good bench player. Harrell on the Rockets, 32. Willie Hernan Gomez, who's good. And then
let's stop for a minute. You and I really liked Harrell.
We did. He at least rebounds.
And we took people that aren't even on our team anymore instead of Harrell. Yep.
This one's going to hurt your feelings. We took Jordan Mickey at 33 and Rashawn Holmes went 37, the guy that you wanted the Sixers to include in that trade.
Yeah. I don't.
And then last year, just to wrap it up, Jaylen Brown at 3. I still would stand by that pick. Then
I would have taken Murray, the shooter.
You just said we had too many guards. Now you're going to take another guard. French Draymond at 16. And then we took Zizic at 23, who's going to be on the team next year, and you're going to love him. I don't know. I think Ainge is a fine drafter. He's not a bad drafter. I don't know where that narrative got started. I think he's had some swings and misses, but they pick some good players.
Okay. You must be doing a podcast with Ainge later today, so if you want me to go along with it, I will.
No, listen. I was very unhappy at a couple of those drafts, and I do think the Rozier draft, they missed out on a bunch of chances too. The two that stand out as just felt bad in the moment and then turned out to be bad were the Rozier draft and then the Sullinger Melo draft, which was just crazy that we didn't get anybody who really helped the team out of those two drafts.
Right. And the Rozier, I mean, we had three picks.
And just missed on all of them.
You think you can hit a home run on one of them, and we just don't. We just didn't.
So wait a second, because we got to go so quickly. If they traded the number 3 pick in Crowder for Jimmy Butler, and we ended up turning that number 1 pick into Jimmy Butler and that Laker pick, are you down with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I'd start the Jay Crowder fan club in Chicago.
Yeah, would you help Jay Pack to make sure he got on the plane?
I'd make sure he was able to fly first class.
And then if they kept number 3 and took Jason Tatum, who by all accounts has that kind of Paul Pierce-ish small forward, just knows how to put the ball in the basket guy, you wouldn't be excited for that?
Well, I'll be real excited when they take the team photo of Tatum standing next to Gordon Hayward, standing next to Jay Crowder, standing next to Jaylen Brown. And we have 4 guys that are the same guy. Sure, that's real exciting.
Tate, my dad thinks we should have a senior citizen podcast on the Ringer where he just talks to other old disgruntled sports fans. Yeah, that's true. We could put it on.
I have a fan base that thinks the same way I do.
We call it the Blue Plate Special. You just talk to other people over 65 about sports.
Yeah, I think it's a winner.
All right, so
you know who our first guest would be?
Who?
Danny Ainge. Talk about the draft.
Just go through all the picks.
Yeah.
I'm with you. My final verdict on this trade, which took 90 minutes to get to, is that I like moving back and getting the extra asset. I wish we'd gotten more. I don't think we got enough for the pick. That's where I stand.
I agree with that. Yeah, and that's how I'm feeling too.
I think the mentality of it was fine. I agree with it. I don't think there's any way to know if Fultz was going to be the best guy. We certainly didn't need another guard if you're trying to build a team short-term, long-term. But I just don't understand how they didn't get more because Fultz was so appealing for the Sixers and was just the perfect pick for them. And they had the assets to overpay for him. And I just wish we had gotten that third piece, whether it was a pick swap, whether it was Rashawn Holmes, whether it was Saric, and then we threw something else in the trade. Whatever it had to be, I wish we had gotten. I feel like we got like 85 cents in the dollar for it, for what the possibility was.
You throw Jay Crowder in there, and you get Saric and Holmes back with the draft pick. Then I'm happy.
And now the Philly fans are unhappy. But yeah, like we throw in our 2018 first, and they throw in Saric. There was more to the trade that I felt. It just felt like the Sixers were willing to overpay for that pick, and we got them to slightly overpay, but not overpay. and that's my regret.
I kept waiting for the one more piece to be announced, and I guess there's nothing more to it.
Yeah. All right, Dad.
I feel badly for Wick Grossback when he has to announce the pick on Thursday night.
Yeah, it's not going to be a kind reception unless they trade it for Jimmy Butler. They'll be fine. All right, Dad. I'll talk to you this week.
When do I get my contract from my podcast? Coming up soon?
Oh, wait a second. One more thing. Binge Mode has convinced you to watch Game of Thrones, and now you're on season 5. Do you want to give your quick 1-minute recap on your first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones?
Well, for a number of years, you've been after me saying that you knew that I like Lord of the Rings, and you said that I would really get into Game of Thrones, and I was convinced I wouldn't. And because of that podcast a couple weeks ago, I had to watch the first episode of year 1, and now I'm binge watching. I'm in year 5, and you finish an episode, and you have to know what happens next, so you watch the next episode, and I think it's just unbelievable. It's like, I love The Wire, but this is really good. This is really well done, and I'm curious to know where it's heading.
So you listened to episode 1 of Binge Mode's Game of Thrones with Mallory Rubin and Jason Concepcion, then watched the first episode, and then you are now plowing through Game of Thrones, and you've put down 4.5 seasons in 2 weeks.
I'm on year 5.
Most shocking moment so far?
Probably the Red Wedding. I didn't see that coming. Probably the second most shocking was when he cut the guy's hand off.
Right. The guy's hand off.
The third most shocking was how terrifically they filmed the siege of the wall scene. Yeah. That was great.
How many characters do you? How many characters do you actually know the names of?
Oh, Tyrion.
He's a short guy.
I can't remember who he is, though.
Short
He's
guy.
Dead?
Yeah.
Oh, the short guy. The names aren't important, and I know I can visually recognize everybody.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah. Well, when Game of Thrones is on this summer, I'm going to have you on the pod every week to recap the last 5 minutes of each pod, or maybe you'll be doing that for the Blue Plate Specials pod. I don't know. America, if you want a Blue Plate Special pod hosted by my dad, definitely email us.
Yeah, you might get a lot of responses.
I might. Who knows? The internet never ceases to amaze. All right, Dad. Thanks for coming on. I'll talk to you this week.
Talk to you. Bye.
All right. Let's give some thanks to CreditWise from Capital One. That's the free app that lets you track the factors that make up your credit health using information from your TransUnion credit report. You can check it anytime without negatively impacting your credit. Download CreditWise today. Thanks again to Proper Cloth. Ordering a custom fit shirt has never been easier thanks to Proper Cloth. Create a custom shirt size in seconds by just answering 10 simple questions. Custom choose from over 20 collar styles, 10 cuff styles, and 500 different fabrics. From classic to business, stop wearing shirts that don't fit. Start looking your best with a custom fitted shirt. Go to propercloth.com/BS. Enter gift code BS to save $20 on your first shirt. Don't forget, I am going on Against All Odds with Cousin Sal this week to talk about NBA draft props. And we have 2 more BS podcasts coming this week, at least, plus a ton of awesome video content this week that we have planned on Twitter and Facebook and all of those mediums. So until then, if the Celtics do something crazy, we'll also do an emergency podcast, obviously. But until then, thanks for listening to the Marathon Celtics Trade Podcast. Talk to you soon.